never mind. He was on Hinge looking for a life partner in a long-term relationship. After he told me he wanted to marry me multiple times, of course.
Okay, you guys, so I fell down yet another rabbit hole, which I know is a very common theme lately for me. But have you had the chance to watch the Who the F Did I Almost Marry video series on TikTok? This creator breaks down in 10 parts how she got involved with a man who basically love bombed her and promised her the world, only to find out he was promising the same thing to dozens of other women, maybe even more, across the country. So I'm going to be breaking down all 10 videos for you guys in case if you didn't have time to watch 10 videos or if you didn't get a chance to watch them yet, because as of right now, the creator got a cease and desist letter, so she very well might not have these videos up by the time that my video goes up. So if you want to get caught up on all of it, I'll be explaining it all in this video. But before we get into all of that, make sure you're subscribed to my channel for more viral breakdown videos like this one. So Casey.Mullen is a creator on TikTok. She's been posting this series, Who the F Did I Marry? And it is 10 videos in the series. So I'm not going to be showing you guys every single video. It would be a really, really long video if I did it, but I'm going to summarize the videos for you. And of course, before we get into the, craziest part of the story, I'm going to just sort of recap the first few videos where Casey basically lays down the groundwork for her situation that she found herself in with this man. And she never says the man's name, but people put two and two together. His name is Brett. So she doesn't say his name, but I will be referring to him as his name, Brett. And Casey says that she has known Brett for most of her life. They grew up 5 minutes apart from each other. They went to an 8th grade dance together. They did lose touch at some point after graduating. But they did reconnect this last fall whenever Brett was back in their hometown in New England somewhere. He is living in Texas right now, but he was back for the holidays in New England. He ran into Casey at a bar and they exchanged numbers, even though Casey said that she was just getting out of a long-term relationship. And so she wasn't looking for anything too serious, but she did give him her number. So they started texting, and Brett was just not like the other guys that were out there in the dating world. He was very respectful of her boundaries. He was telling her everything that she wanted to hear. He seemed like the perfect guy. But again, he was in Texas, she is in New Hampshire, so there was that, obstacle to go through. She had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, so it wasn't, the ideal timing. But Brett honestly seemed way too perfect to just ignore him altogether. So they struck up a long distance style type of relationship where they were calling, texting, FaceTiming all of the time, making plans to see each other even with the distance. And over the course of their relationship, Casey was very open to moving to Texas to be with Brett. And he was also open to moving back up to New England to be with her. But the way they had it working out, it was she was going to go down to Texas to be with him. So I'm just going to show you a clip of her talking about how, great Brett was. He was love bombing her and she knew it. She said, I knew he was love bombing, but she didn't really care. She said it was nice to hear all of these things from someone, to get that kind of respect. And it just seemed so, so perfect.
I picked up that he was love bombing me pretty quickly. It was pretty obvious. And then he's scrolling. His favorite thing to do would be to scroll on homes.com. So he would tell me that he wanted to buy a house. He would scroll on homes.com and share a screen with me and go through each home and tell me what projects he would do in the home, which that's nice. But one day it was he wanted a home in Texas. The next day he wanted a home in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida ladies, beware. He would always send me stuff like this. He was constantly asking me to visit him in Texas. So we booked a flight for the last week of January. But before that, he came back to New Hampshire on January 15th because his brother was having a bachelor ski trip and he was home in New Hampshire for one day. His brother was getting married and he just kept saying that this wedding was happening and that he was the best man, and he wasn't asking me to go, but he just kept talking about how his brother's getting married in May. That'll be important later, but we go on this date on January 15th. He picks me up. He comes to my house. He says that he's coming to the door. I say, please don't come to the door. My parents are home and I'm not really ready to introduce them to anyone, and he just says I'm coming to the door. He completely disregards me. He meets my mother, tells her that he's going to take good care of me, and we go on our way. We have an amazing time. We shut down this bar, 4 hours, same thing as before, amazing conversation. I'll spare you guys the details. So the weekend of January 24th, I flew down to Fort Worth to visit him. This is us. We went to a rodeo. He took me to do all sorts of things. We went to a rodeo, we went to concerts, we went to bars. He took me shopping at Takova's, and I tried on a bunch of boots and danced around the store, and he bought me a pair of boots. He branded them with my initials on them. We did so much stuff. It was during this time we first became physically intimate with each other, and I remember asking about protection, and he told me how he was clean because he had to take a test for the military, and how he hadn't been physically intimate with anyone for a long time, so he didn't have any protection, and he didn't like using protection. It had been about a year since he was with someone, like all this stuff. Come to find out, that was not true. He was with someone the day before I was there. So that is, I can't even talk about it because I feel so disgusting in my body, but like, stay safe out there. Don't let anyone convince you not to use protection, and don't trust anyone. By this point, too, we had the conversation about us being exclusive. We weren't officially dating. We both said that we were not seeing other people. That only turned out to be true on my part, unfortunately.
So yeah, they were going on trips together, planning out future meetups. They were planning their future together. Things were going really, really well. But after they got back from a work trip from Hawaii, they were in Hawaii because Brett's in the military, and so he was there for some reason. I'm not sure why, but he was there and he invited her to go with her. The trip went really well. But when they got back from Hawaii and he went back to Texas and she went back home to New Hampshire, things started to get a little bit weird. She noticed that he was becoming more distant. He wasn't texting her. He wasn't calling her babe like he usually did. There was just certain things going on that just seemed very sudden. She had no idea what she did wrong, but she did feel like something was wrong. She said she's a very intuitive person and she could just tell that something wasn't right. And so Casey was really concerned because she was falling in love with this person. She was planning a future with him. She was planning on moving down to Texas to be with him. She thought she was going to marry him. And now all of a sudden he's giving her the cold shoulder and she has no idea why. Not to mention they had very, upcoming things coming up. They had weddings that he had invited her to attend. And so she needed to get things figured out so that she could get the plane tickets. I'm sure call off, time for work. She had dresses picked out, gifts for the wedding picked out. Meanwhile, he's not really even returning her text messages. And things continue to get really strange. In this moment I'm about to show you is what Casey considers the turning point for things to really start going wrong.
And I asked him if he wanted to get dinner with my parents. And if I had to put a pin in where the relationship went wrong, looking back on everything, it would be this exact moment. I said, let's get dinner with my parents, like, while you're here so they can, like, meet you as my partner. He just replied with, I would rather myself than sit at a table with my mother. I was so caught off guard. And he continued to send me a couple texts saying, like, we've talked about this. I don't understand why you would suggest that. And there was a miscommunication. He thought I was asking to get dinner with his parents, which, like I said, family situation, bad. Not going to touch it. Not going to talk about it. And I texted him back and I said, no, I meant getting dinner, like, with my parents. I would never want to, like, impede on your family, and I would never force, like, a relationship that's not there. That's not my place. Like, I apologize. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. He just laughs it off. He said, oh, haha, sorry. You know how I am with my family. I misread, like, trying to brush it off. And I just kind of let it go. But the more I sat with this, the more it bothered me that he would speak to me that way. So I just simply communicated that. I said, hey, I know you really didn't mean it that way and that your family is touchy, but I really didn't appreciate how you spoke to me. It made me feel like I did something wrong, and I didn't. And also, even if I had suggested dinner with your parents, you don't share all the information with me regarding them, so I don't really know what to do with that, and you can't treat me as if I have all the information and suggest these things. Like, I simply just set a boundary. And he just leaves me on red, and I don't hear from him at all through the evening. I don't hear from him until the next morning. And I, like, looking at his location just to, like, see what he's doing, not even thinking anything of it. And I see he's at Second Rodeo, another like saloon bar that's down in the Fort Worth area. And then I see that he's in some random apartment complex in Plano, Texas. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce the towns. I just noticed that he's at, like, a random apartment at, like, 3 a.m., but I just assumed that he was with his friends.
And for weeks, Brett was giving Casey the silent treatment. She would reach out asking if everything was okay. And if he did get back, which wasn't often, he would say things were fine. But in general, he was giving her the silent treatment, which was one of the, I think she said she had 3 things going into that relationship that were deal breakers for her. And one was whenever someone would give her the silent treatment, she was not okay with that. He agreed to that early on, that is not something he would do. It's immature. And here he was doing just that. Again, for no reason that Casey was aware of, that was her doing, at least. And things were not turning around. Casey talks about how it was really awful and it was such a dark time for her because she was very invested in the relationship. She thought she had found her person, the man she was eventually going to marry. And up until that point, he was giving her every signal to think that. There was no reason for her not to think that up until basically after Hawaii trip. Finally, though, they FaceTime and Brett was talking about his work stuff until Casey said, look, I need to know where we stand. What is going on? And that's when the breakup happened. He didn't really give her much of a reason reason other than he needed to focus on himself and that his life was in shambles. Casey was very upset, obviously, but she didn't show it. She was very empathetic, very understanding of his situation. Even in all of these things, all of these videos she's showing, she doesn't air out any of his dirty laundry, any of his family issues that he had going on, any of his personal issues that he had going on. She's very respectful of that. She doesn't talk about it. But she said in these texts to him, I'm here for you. If you want me to even fly down to Texas to be with you so that you have someone to talk to, I will do that for you. To which he left her on red. Casey said that she confided in her mom and best friend about everything, and they told her that basically all signs were pointing to that he was seeing somebody else, but Casey didn't want to hear it. She said, there's been nothing that has indicated that to me, that he has been cheating or seeing somebody else. Like, you guys have it wrong. That's not what it is. I don't know what it is, but that's definitely not what it is. So her friend convinced her to make a fake Hinge account and see if she could get him to connect. And so she did. She made this whole fake account where it wasn't even her picture. She labeled the girl as L, so he had no idea. If he saw that, he wouldn't know it was Casey. And long story short, he ended up messaging her. Again, not knowing it was Casey, and he was inviting this L to the wedding that he had coming up. He was giving her the same stories that he had told Casey when they first started dating. All of this indicated to Casey that yes, he was cheating or in that realm. If they just broke up, he was already on Hinge messaging somebody else and inviting this person to the same wedding that she was supposed to go to with him, and giving this fake woman L the same sob stories that he had been giving her when they first started dating. It was the same thing he was doing all over again to a new person. And that all leads up to her rushed finale, one in which she had to rush because Brett sent her a cease and desist letter. Many people have speculated, including Casey, that it is a fake cease and desist letter that ChatGPT created. There's not even a lawyer's office, an attorney's office on the letter. It was just emailed to her and said that it was on behalf of Brett Silva, I think his last name, Brett Silva. So I don't think it was real at all. It's a very unprofessional looking, there's grammatical errors, but he was sending that to other people in her family, and she didn't want to get her family involved in all of this. And so she felt that it's just best to take down the videos altogether, to kind of just say what she needed to say, and she was just ready to move on. But it was in this final video that Casey discloses why she made this whole series, this whole 10-part series in the first place.
And the only reason that all of this went viral, by the way, is not because I talked about what happened, because in my original video, I didn't talk about what happened, but people knew who he was. They knew this person. They recognized the photos. I am of the belief that this person really just brought this on themselves, and they're not sorry. They're not sorry that they got caught. They're continuing to do what they're doing. They just don't want any evidence of it. Who the F Did I Think I Was Gonna Marry series was laying the groundwork for the bigger problem. Before the series got taken down, everything that I had shared was simply just about my experience with this person, and really was just a story of a relationship that ended and he was on Hinge after, and that really sucked. I never got to explain why I chose to bring this to social media in the first place, but I'm gonna do it right now. When I posted my video saying, never mind, he was on Hinge, I thought that was just a silly joke. It was a coping mechanism for me. I just put it out on the internet. I could have never imagined that when I went to bed that night and woke up to that video having almost 1 million views, that it would be flooded and filled with comments, and my DMs would be full of people saying they know this person, they recognize this person, they have been on dates with this person has approached them, they've had other experiences with this person, including being in a relationship with this person, having physical relations with this person. I was shocked. And it just kept getting worse. This goes way beyond a story of my boyfriend was unfaithful to me and talking to a couple other women in our relationship. This man was juggling dozens and dozens of women, I believe, at the same time. I do not know how he had time for this. I do not know how he did this. Everyone I tell this to has no idea. This goes so beyond just a problem with me. I'm talking taking multiple girls out in a day, talking to multiple girls at a time, having multiple physical partners allegedly, and not disclosing properly that you are with other people and putting people's sexual health at risk. And that is why I am here. That is why I am sharing this story, because it is wrong. If you watched part of my series, you know that something I said in there was when I was physically intimate with this person, we had the conversation of if we were with anyone else. We both said that we were not. This person specifically said that they were not with anyone for a very long time and that they were clean, and reassured me that everything would be fine. I come to find out that that is not true. I'm not saying this person was not clean. I truly don't know any of that. I'm going to take care of myself this week. However, I do know what was not true was that I was not the only person this man was being physically intimate with. My DMs are overflowing with people saying they have had an experience with this person or know someone who has had an experience with this person, whether that's dating, hooking up, getting their phone number at the gym. I am talking friends. I am talking former coworkers. I am talking former coaches. I cannot explain to you how widely this is spread. It is honestly almost unbelievable. I don't even believe it myself. Know how this person had the time, the willpower, the energy, or even could think to do this. I am talking perpetually on Hinge, constantly, 24/7. I mentioned that I made a fake profile and caught him on Hinge. So did 4 of my friends. Collectively, there were 4 or 5 profiles of people that he was talking to, having the same conversations with, trying to tell them that woe is me, I'm never going to find a girl who's going to follow me in through the military, yada, 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 inviting them to these weddings, offering to fly them out, just absolutely insane stuff, saying he wants to pursue them, he wants a connection. I can't even get into the details because it is just so horrifying how meticulous and thought out, or maybe there is no thought, just how copy and paste these conversations are. Of everything else, the situation with me, I was his girlfriend. From what I understand, I was his only girlfriend, and granted I didn't live in Texas, but I was willing to uproot my life to move to Texas for him. He made me feel like I was the most special woman in the world. I loved this person so, so, so deeply. So to find out that they're basically an entirely other person and doing all these things and being with other people to a absolutely horrifying level. Like, I can't explain this. Isn't 1 or 2 people that they cheated on me with. Dozens. I saw this man posted in the Dallas-Fort Worth "Who Are We Dating" group. The comments, hundreds of comments, people saying that they're currently hooking up with him. They had hooked up with him, that he was weird to them. He told them that he loved them. Like, everyone has a story, and somehow the stories are all so similar and so different at the same time. Honestly, one 10-minute video on TikTok isn't enough for me to get you to understand the gravity of this situation and just how deeply rooted it is and how sinister it is and diabolical that this man had a web of women, not even limited to Dallas-Fort Worth. I had comments, people saying that he was on the Are We Dating page in Cleveland, that had over 100 comments on it. He's from the New England area. I had people from New Hampshire, Boston, Rhode Island, like, reach out. The craziest part is I don't know when he did all of this. Like, he was on Hinge when we were in Hawaii together, and I had no idea, and I was with him a majority of the time. I truly believe that this person has a real problem and that it is so much more sinister than I could ever imagine. And I don't know how to explain that to everyone. The only thing that I can say is that if you are aware of this person or know someone who has been with this person, the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. I went to the doctor and I took care of myself. If you know what I mean, make sure that nothing is wrong and stay away from this person. That's the only advice I can give you. And I know that even that won't put a stop to this, that there are many other women out there that will probably fall for his charming, kind, like, genuine personality and never know. Because honestly, if I never posted my TikTok, I never would have known this. I never would have known that the person that I was with, the person that I was dating that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, because that's what they told me they wanted, the person that I was going to move halfway across the country for, was being physically intimate with other women and not telling me. I feel disgusting and out of touch with my own body. I can't even explain, like, let alone the heartbreak of this whole situation. I can get over that, and I'll get over this too, but I just don't feel like myself. I feel so violated. I feel like I have to shower multiple times a day, wash my bed sheets every day, like, wear different clothes. Like, I cannot escape the feeling of what this person has done and is still doing. I don't even think that I have even explained or could get someone to understand the severity of this situation unless you are me or my mother or someone close to me who has watched me experience this firsthand. I don't even know if this video makes any sense. If it does, like, I'm so sorry you had to experience this. To the person who caused all of this hurt and hate and made me feel violated and just disgusted, I truly hope that you get help. I know that you won't. I don't know why you did this. I believe it's because you hate women and you hate yourself. But I will take this and I will grow from it and I will be better for it. And I know that you will always be who you are at your core, which is underwhelmingly average in every capacity.
So I do have to say that after watching all 10 parts of the videos today, that was a very satisfying ending. The wink going right into the Taylor Swift song, "The Smallest Man That Ever Lived." I love that. Good for you, Casey. Very good ending. But I do feel bad for Casey. This whole situation has wrecked her. And of course, I do believe that she's going to come back stronger than ever. But it's messed up that Brett took things as far as he did and that he has done this to dozens and dozens of women. And for all we know, hundreds of women. His pictures, his Hinge accounts are coming up in Cleveland, Texas, New England, all over the country. So we really have no idea how many women this has actually affected. And I felt like I had to cover this one because if Casey does take these videos down, at least some of us will be here to still keep the story alive here on the internet. Brett might think he can ChatGPT lawyer his way into silence, but he can't silence everybody. And honestly, women out there in the dating pool, especially in cities where Brett is setting his radius to, need to know the truth about the man they could be starting a relationship with, whether that's a long term or a short term relationship. They should know. They should have the right to know. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever dealt with a Brett before? I haven't, and thank God I have been out of the dating pool for a decade now. I've heard things about the current dating world and it seems rough out there. So if you're out in the dating world right now, stay strong and stay vigilant apparently. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this, and I will see you guys in my next video.